المرسلين وعلى آله وصحابته أجمعين. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. سبحانك لا فهم لنا إلا ما فهمتنا إنك أنت الجواد الكريم. قل رب زدني علما. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. ولقد أخذ الله ميثاق بني إسرائيل بعثنا منهم 12 نقيبا وقال الله إني معكم لئن أقمتم الصلاة وآتيتم الزكاة وآمنتم برسلي وعزرتموهم وقرضتم الله قرضا حسنا لأكفرن عنكم سيئاتكم ولأدخلنكم جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار فمن كفر بعد ذلك منكم فقد ضل سواء السبيل. صدق الله مولانا العظيم. So previously Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned the taking of the undertaking, the pledge, the oath that we will obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and follow His commandments, and that is the oath of sami'na wa ata'na. We hear and we obey, and that is inferred when we recite this kalima, La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. So if we bear witness that there is no deity except Allah, that means there is no one worthy of worship, and part of worship is obedience in all matters. In fact, as we've mentioned many times, that ibadah and ubudiyya is much more than just the concept of worship as understood in the English language. In other words, in the Western world, the Occidental world, worship means a ritual which is connected to some religious practice, some devotional ritual. That's worship. How you do your business, how you run your family, your character, everything else, that's another story. In Islam, it's one story. The whole life, the whole system of life is connected to an order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and a way of Rasulullah and everything that we do. So this pact and this covenant that all human beings had actually originally taken when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked us before our sending into the physical world, Alastu bi rabbikum, am I not your Lord? Bala, absolutely, that's the case. So who will remain on that undertaking or not? So just as this undertaking was, as this pledge has been again emphasized in this ummah, it was also the case in the former ummahs. وَلَقَدْ أَخَذَ اللَّهُ مِيثَاقَ بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلَ. Similarly, Bani Israel, such a pact was taken from them. وَلَقَدْ أَخَذَ اللَّهُ مِيثَاقَ بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلَ. And definitely Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taken a mithaq, this oath and undertaking and pledge from the children of Israel. وَبَعَثْنَا مِنْهُمْ مُثْنَيْ عَشْرَ نَقِيبًا. And for the undertaking of that oath from the entirety of the 12 tribes, which were the descendants of the 12 sons of Sayyidina Yaqub alayhi salam, and of course, as we mentioned many times, that Yaqub alayhi salam, he was also known as Israel. So Israel was the name of Yaqub, and the Bani Israel are the sons of Yaqub, sons meaning the progeny. So when that covenant was taken from them, and this took place during the time of Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, and the mountain of Tur was lifted on their heads, to what else. So the covenant was actually, when it was taken from Bani Israel, this was the modus operandi, that 12 representatives, one from each tribe, was taken under confidence that you will follow, you will listen, and you will obey. And you are responsible to ensure that your tribe will also hear and obey, right? And so they would have taken that undertaking, and they would have also taken confidence from their tribal members. But as we know, and we've been hearing many, many, many times, that they didn't remain true to their pact. And again, So what's the point? The point is that will we remain true to our point? We also tend to be very lax, if not totally disobedient as well. As Nabi predicted that we will follow in their footsteps, step by step. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save us and not make us among such. Moreover, that we actually do hear and we do obey. A similar pact was also taken. Also, interestingly, if you remember in Surah Baqarah, when Musa alayhi salam was instructed to hit the rock for the sake of bringing forth water, because they were under a severe water shortage. By the way, we are under a severe water shortage, right? So, Musa alayhi salam didn't say, okay, well, let's excavate, let's, do this, let's do that. It's in the hand of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Who sends down the rain? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, when they complained of the shortage of water and the severe drought, and they're wandering in the desert, they have nothing, no water. So, Musa alayhi salam was commanded to hit the rock. Now, interestingly, the rock didn't spout out one fountain, but rather 12 fountains for each tribe of the Bani Israel. So even though, of course, as we mentioned yesterday in the Jummah talk, that of course the overriding umbrella concept that there is no distinction between any tribe or people or color or race or anything except by taqwa. However, the reality is that the social hierarchy, tribes, nations, peoples, So when you have a representative from that particular tribe, that they are more likely to listen to that person. So that's a kind of reality that should be understood. And Nabi Sallallahu used the same tactic when taking the undertaking with the Ansar, that they will, support and they will help Rasulullah Sallallahu. And he similarly, 12 tribal chiefs of the Ansar were also brought under confidence. So that's interesting. So that took place. Okay. Now, what was the covenant actually? Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions. So, وَقَالَ اللَّهُ إِنِّي مَعَكُمْ. Now, before explaining the items of the covenant or the articles of the covenant, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes this announcement. As we said, again, legislation is never just do and don't. It's always targhib and tarheeb. It's always motivation. It's always, motivating them with the promises of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's fadl and mercy and reward, and frightening them with the consequences of disobedience. So first of all, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala announces that I am with you. I am going to be there for you. But you have to follow the instructions. So, لَإِنْ أَقَمْتُمُ الصَّلَاةِ, if you will actually establish salat, and again, not just performing it, but establishing salat. You, your families, your tribe, the whole nation, establishing salat. وَأَتَيْتُمُ الزَّكَاةِ, and secondly, zakat. So we understand the salat, zakat, not only in this ummah, it was the first two most important and critical of the arkan, of the fundamentals, but also in the former nations as well. Because the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one. So the basis, the basic beliefs and the basic tenets have always been there, the same. وَأَمَنْتُمْ بِرُسُلِي, and thirdly, that you will believe in my rusul, which means that not only the prophet who was sent to them at that time, but any ensuing prophet, and any prophet that came before. And if any prophet were to come after, and of course Bani Israel had a huge amount of prophets, prophet after prophet. Sometimes multiple prophets were sent at the same time, again and again and again. So whatever prophet comes, you will ultimately follow them and follow their instructions. And that also includes, of course, Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, the last of the prophets of Bani Israel, and then the final prophet, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So it includes all of that. So not only you will believe in them, but believing in the prophets is وَعَزَّرْتُمُوهُمْ. You will help them and you will support them in their mission. And you will be partners with them in it. وَأَقْرَضْتُمُ اللَّهَ قَرْضًا حَسَنًا, and you will give Allah a goodly loan. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, everything in the universe belongs to Him. So why does He need a loan? In fact, the Jews, they made a fun of this. Allah became poor, He needs a loan? Is that the idea? أعوذ بالله من ذلك. No, we are poor. We need to give Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala a loan, because when you give a loan, then the person you have given the loan to, he has to pay you back, right? So in that sense, Qard hasana, so it is a loan or giving to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hasana, which is hasana, a goodly loan, which would be only for His sake, not for any other purpose. And of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you back multiple. The ulama say this is halal riba. It's halal interest. You are guaranteed return on your investment. 700,000 ila adafin kathira. With no limitation, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wishes. So it's we that actually need this investment. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is free of all needs and wants. So this also indicates that there is expenditures other than zakat, because already zakat is mentioned, right? So what expenditure is this? Just as the riwayat of Imam al-Tirmidhi, he says in that riwayat, "Ala inna fil mali haqqun siwa zakat." There is rights in your wealth other than zakat. Zakat is the bare minimum, and then after, spending on all righteous causes. For example, the masjid. For example, institutions of knowledge. For example, any other facilities which the public needs, particularly when governments don't care anything except about their own pockets, which is the case today. So if the governments are not paying attention to that, and I don't know of any Muslim governments who are fully aligned with that concept, so then what happens? So that means the whole ummah becomes responsible for that. So all the people with money, when we see that, we see this in Pakistan a lot. Actually, the government doesn't do anything. The people do everything. Whatever good initiatives are undertaken and actually come to fruition, it's the people that do that. Our religious institutions in the Indian subcontinent, they are all supported by the people. They don't even allow the governments to get involved with that. So in this way, those institutions, with the sincerity of those people and the poor people, Darul Uloom Deoband, by the way, very interestingly, the mother institution of most of these institutions that up to this day, even in IOK, they consider themselves a branch of that original system. In any case, the original founder of Deoband, he had the stipulation that he wouldn't collect money from the rich. He would collect money from the poor. And he would send this fellow around in the poor neighborhoods, and they would give their 1-2 cents, right? And it began under a tree, that institution. It didn't even have a building. They weren't interested in all this fancy things. They were interested in a teacher and students. That's the name of madrasa. And so it began like that, and it's been going on, for a couple of centuries now. Almost. So in any case, here we have the order of paying, within our money, we have responsibilities. So this is obviously Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us these resources, and it actually belongs to Him. It's a trust in our hands. Paying zakat is the minimum. Whatever other responsibilities there are in the ummah, we are all collectively responsible for that. The difference being that zakat is fard ayn. You have to pay zakat in any case that you have, if you have the nisab. As for these other expenditures, they're fard kifaya. If it's being done by some and it's being fulfilled, then the rest are absolved. If not, everybody's responsible. So, if we will, undertake, so they're told, if you will undertake all of these conditions, these 4 conditions, establish salat, pay zakat, believe in the prophets and help them and support them, and give Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala this goodly loan, as we've explained, then what will happen? When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I will excuse and I will cover over your faults. وَلَأُدْخِلَنَّكُمْ جَنَّاتٍ تَجْرِي. And this is emphasized, by the way. لَأُدْخِلَنَّ with lam and noon mushaddada. So it means you're definitely, most assuredly, indeed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to excuse your faults and enter you into paradises beneath which rivers flow. Not one river. Rivers of water, honey, milk, and wine. Pure wine that doesn't make you mad. It makes the paradise even more enjoyable. فَمَنْ كَفَرَ بَعْدَ ذَلِكَ. And again, tarhib. After the targhib, jannat. Then after that, those who turn back, deny, disbelieve. After that, minkum, from among you. فَقَدْ ضَلَّ السَّوَاءِ. So you have really gone off the path. And if you've gone off the path, where do you end up? in destruction. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq to be on the path and remain on the path